Hello guys, how you doing today? This is Jamil King, and look here, I want to talk to you briefly about four economical quadrants. And the reason I want to talk to you about this is in Genesis, it tells us that God's will for our life is to be prosperous. God wants us to be fruitful, He wants us to be productive, and He wants us to rule and reign in life and take dominion. This is a really important message for you. I believe that many of you that are living today, you want to experience God's best for your life. You know, God wants us to realize the power of economics. You know, when we think about economics, a lot of times people think about money, but really that's not what economics means. Economics really is the ability to make right decisions within your ecosystem. It means every decision that you make, whether it's marriage, a financial decision, a decision to move to another state or another country, decisions about insurance, decisions about just any sector of life. Having children is a huge decision. This is very important. When you understand the power of good decision making and wisdom, you need to have a good foundation of economics. And so I'm going to talk about the four economical quadrants that exist. God wants us to be blessed. I really believe that God wants us to have more streams of income. We need to have multiple streams of income to compensate for inflation. Inflation rate almost every year is increasing. And I believe now we're at 3%. The 3% rate is where inflation is now, maybe a little bit more than that. But we're going to teach today. We're going to have a simple teaching on four economical systems or four economical quadrants. When I say quadrants, I'm just speaking about different categories. Now, let me name the four economical quadrants first, and then I will expound on each quadrant. And remember, God wants to bless you in each category as it relates to Him blessing your life. And God will do those things when we do our part. Now, number one, the first economical quadrant or category is being an employee. Number two, the next quadrant is being self-employed. Number three, the next quadrant is being an investor or investing. And the fourth quadrant or category would be being a business leader owner. I call it business leader owner quadrant. So remember, the four quadrants are what? Number one, employership or an employee. Number two, self-employed. And number three, investor. And number four, a business leader owner. Now, remember, we just talked about four different quadrants. I actually just clarified what the four categories are. And the reason why I'm categorizing these categories is the way your mind works is everyone functions within the realm of four categories as it relates to economics. I want to repeat that again. Everyone functions within the four categories, meaning when I say function, that means that your state of understanding, your mind, your consciousness, and how you think is filtered through the framework of these four categories. So let's talk about the employee quadrant. We understand that when you're an employee, that simply means that you go and you work for someone. And when you go and work for someone, someone has goals, someone has a dream, and someone has a vision that they want you to help them facilitate that dream and that vision. It's a blessing to be able to have a job in this particular market, because we know during the pandemic, there's been over 20.5 million jobs that have been lost. And so if you have a job, it is a blessing. And let me say this, as I go through all of these quadrants, all four quadrants are a blessing. Don't look at them as a curse. Don't look at it as from a negative perspective, because when we talk about these four quadrants, the greatest revelation that you can have about these four quadrants is to bring a self-awareness. That's what I want to do today, is to make you self-aware of what quadrant you're in. God is going to shift you and maybe move you around. God may want you to begin to see some different things as it relates to your life. And this will help you with the decision-making process. So remember, an employee is a person that chooses to work at a job or work for someone. And the reason this is a blessing is because now at this particular job that you have, the goal for you being at this job is to learn the knowledge that they give you. Isn't it amazing? Any job that you have, you're going to develop a skill set and you're going to develop knowledge based on what type of work that you do. Now, some people work for companies that they don't like. Some people work for companies that they really don't want to be there at that particular time. But remember, you have to have a positive mentality. In any situation you're in, give thanks to God. Be thankful that you're in this situation, because when you shift, your mindset to positivity, it's amazing what God can begin to do. Even if you're going to exit the job in the future, remember, you're there for a purpose, you're there for a reason. And a lot of times, if you leverage the knowledge and you leverage the relationships in that job, God will begin to elevate you to another level. Even if you decide to leave the job, you're able to advance. You're able to have skill sets and knowledge that you received from the job because you kept the right state of mind. You kept a positive understanding. So remember, the first quadrant is being an employee. It is a blessing to be an employee, because a lot of times we have to realize that God wants us to grow in stages. And so remember, if you're an employee, that is a blessing because you are working for someone. You have a job and you understand the purpose of that job is for you to leverage knowledge. Remember what I said, for you to build relationships and for you to eventually begin to climb the ladder and grow even within that particular sector. So number one, we talked about that being an employee is I understand that I am working for someone and my goal is to help them to facilitate that dream and that vision for the company. Number two, being self-employed is the next quadrant. And when you're self-employed, that just simply means that you work for yourself. Now, when you work for yourself, one of the benefits is that you are able to leverage your time. You're able to be in control of your time, and you're able to manage your time much better because you don't have to punch in on the clock. Now, let me say this right now. During this pandemic right now, it has been a blessing for a lot of people that are employees, because now we do not have to embrace the traditional system of going into work. A lot of people are working from home, so this gives them an advantage to have more than one job. I mean, if you're working from home, I know a couple of people right now in the mortgage industry that work from home, and they're making $100,000 to $150,000 a year on a computer. So this gives you the time as an employee to look for other things, to be able to look for other streams of income. So remember, you have to shift your understanding now in this day and time. It's a blessing. God can bless you in all four quadrants. He can bless you in all categories. I want you to see that today. So I wanted to say that about the employee. Remember, that's the first category that our minds function in. We function a lot of times within the realm of being an employee and working for someone. But remember, the second quadrant is being self-employed. And self-employed just simply means that you're the owner of your time and you decide what type of business that you're going to enter into. Number three, the investment quadrant. Now, when we talk about investing, a lot of times the first thing people think about is investing in stocks, investing in mutual funds, investing in CDs, and that's options. Those are options that we all have. Mainly, you see people that are in the employee sector invest in stocks, invest in mutual funds, invest in 401ks, invest in 403bs, which their company provides those things. And I think that's wonderful. Make sure you get with your financial advisor and make sure you have a good financial manager that manages that for you. And usually the company has someone that you can contact through the 1-800 customer service. But we're talking now about the investment quadrant. Now, investing, from my perspective, I think what's powerful is investing is when you invest, number one, your time and your energy and your education into what you're going to do. I don't see investing as just investing money, but I think the most important investment that you can ever make is invest in your ability to educate yourself. That's number one, because remember, your experience will never go beyond your education. So the number one thing about investing is I'm going to educate myself and I'm going to expose myself to options before I make a decision. I always remember that. When you invest in your education, then your experience, whether you're investing in the stock market, whether you're investing in yourself, whether you're investing in an idea, when you educate yourself and you're patient, guess what? You're going to be much more fruitful. So when you hear the word investing, don't just think about stocks. Don't just think about mutual funds. Don't limit yourself. Think about your ability to educate yourself first. Because remember, when you educate yourself, then your experience has much more energy, much more a purpose. I mean, education allows me to be able to work with much more. And that's why investing is important. Investing, your yield of return as it relates to investment is attached to your education. So when I hear the word invest, I can go invest in a person. I can go invest in a person that has knowledge and I can hire that person. There's many different ways to invest. Remember that you can invest in an idea. You can invest in being creative. Remember, those people that invested in Uber. Wasn't that an awesome investment? So when you're looking at investing, you can invest in a church, you can invest in people, you can invest. A lot of times when we think about investing, we rob ourselves from our ability to be creative because we limit it to stocks, CDs, money markets, 401ks, and mutual funds. And so remember, investing does mean that, but it's much more. Investing will only help you to the degree that you educate yourself. Now, the fourth quadrant is the quadrant of being a business owner or being a business leader. Now, this is a very important quadrant that many people evolve and graduate to. And I call the graduation of consciousness. When you enter into a quadrant where you're a business owner or leader, what this means is now you have a different state of mind. You're not really trying to make money for yourself. You're endeavoring to become a beneficial existence outside of yourself. And now you're recognizing that there's people in the universe that's much smarter than you. And so you're investing in people's lives. Now, if you study many of the companies, Bill Gates, which is the owner of Microsoft, if you study even Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, that is the owner of Facebook, their mentality is a little bit different. Now, remember, they're not in an employee quadrant. So they're not investing a lot of times in 401ks, in CDs, money markets, and investments. They're investing more in people because people now become the greater commodity as a business owner. This is one of the reasons why you see leaders, even preachers, even CEOs of companies that become successful, is because now they see an administrator as an investment. They see a person as an investment. And it's amazing when you begin to grow and evolve in these categories, because now what takes you to another level is you recognize, if I hire this person is able to create a certain amount of value. Just imagine if you could hire one person that makes you $200,000 a year. Imagine if you could hire another person that makes you $75,000 a year. Imagine if you could hire another person that makes you $300,000 a year, and you continue to hire people because you see their gifts and their talents. And before you know it, you have this big snowball effect where you have 500 to 1,000 employees. And so the business quadrant, a lot of people do step into that business quadrant because this is the number one reason why, is they recognize that the value and the service that I can give to humanity is the key. Remember, serving someone else puts you even in a greater position, because when you're able to service or serve someone else, what that means is you're meeting the demand or meeting the need of that person. So remember what the business quadrant is. The business quadrant is a different state of mind. Each category has a different consciousness. It has a different state of mind. Being an employee is a blessing. Remember that. It's a blessing to work for someone, to be an employee, because God can elevate you within that position. While you're an employee, begin to leverage that knowledge. Don't just look at it from a negative aspect, but use the knowledge and the information even in the employeeship sector. Many people that are employees have grown, and they have grown, listen to this, out of being an employee for that company. What they've done a lot of times is they've taken the knowledge that the company has given them, and they started their own consulting firms. I want you to think about that. The knowledge that you leverage, because you had a positive mind, God's able to what? Download revelation to you, and you realize that now all this knowledge I've received for the past 15 years, I can use this now to start my own firm. And many people end up making millions starting their own consulting firm because they got the knowledge from the company. So that's why I said, in any sector that you're in, God can bless you. You don't have to be a business owner for God to bless you and take you to the next level. You just need to be self-aware of all these categories, because when the decision-making process begins to merge, God may send 5 people into your life, and you may be an employee at this time. He may send 5 people in your life, and you may need to hire those people. Now that you have this teaching and you understand the 4 categories, you'll be like, okay, wait a minute. I need to be aware of what Pastor Jay says. There are 5 people that have just come into my life, and they're gifted, they're talented. Let me think about this. Oh, okay. So now I can create a limited liability company, a LLC, and I can hire me a maid. I can put my wife on staff. I can hire this other person to do my graphics for me. And see, before you know it, you end up starting a business, and now you're in the business owner quadrant because you shifted. You shifted your mind, not only for working for somebody, but now you've shifted your mind into the importance of hiring people and creating value for them and seeing people's potential. Now, one of the benefits about these 4 quadrants, I live in all 4 categories. I still work for someone. It's a benefit to be able to have a job and to work for someone, because you're learning, you're leveraging your time, you're building relationships, and it doesn't take anything away from my time at all. I have a wonderful relationship with my employer, and it's a blessing. I'm also self-employed. And there are benefits in me being self-employed as well. I also invest. I invest in stocks, mutual funds. I also have invested in myself. I have a company. I'm a businessman, and I'm also in the business owner quadrant. So it's really up to you what you want to create in your life. You can create value in any four categories. So remember what the four categories are. Our mind and the framework of our consciousness operates and functions within these four categories. Ask yourself, what category are you in right now? Am I an employee? Am I self-employed? Am I an investor, or am I a business owner? Now, remember one thing about the investor. The investor also learns to invest in himself, but he also learns to teach his money how to work for him. That's another different thing that we do. That's why I said investing is an important quadrant, but you want to educate yourself before you make investments. One of the greatest investments that you can ever make is, number one, investing in your ability to educate yourself, because everybody's experience is different. And you have to expose yourself to options so you can make better informed decisions. So remember what we talked about today, the four economical categories, or the four economical quadrants that exist within our marketplace. And this helps us to be able to filter our framework of thought, our framework of consciousness into the earth as we make good decisions. I hope you guys share this video. Everyone that exists in this life has potential. And I wanted to give you something practical to apply to your life, because a lot of times we're making decisions, but we're not conscious or self-aware of the decisions that we're making. Remember, today, the reason I taught on the four quadrants or categories as it relates to economics is I want you to make decisions within the framework of consciousness. That just simply means I'm understanding why I'm making decisions that I'm making. If I see someone that has potential, a lot of times it's probably advantageous to invest in that person. One person can come up with an idea that changes your life. I know when I was reading the book was saying that you're one idea away from being a millionaire. You're one idea away from being worth millions. A lot of times the reason we don't capitalize off of ideas is because we reproduce our own level of intelligence. We don't see the gifts in other people. A lot of times someone may be smarter than you. Someone may have a better idea than you, but they might not have the capital. You need to increase your capacity to believe, increase your capacity to perceive. And what that means is understand that there are gifts in everyone. So now I can expand my consciousness. I can expand my capacity to search for individuals, and not only even search for people, but just exist and live. And as you're living and existing, as long as you're woke, a lot of times God will begin to show you these things, and it will blow your mind. Now remember, this is Pastor Jay. I'm with Christian Outreach Center, and I'm talking today about the four quadrants of economics. Remember, economics is not just making money. Economics is not just money, but it's the ability to educate yourself about life and life's decisions. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Share it with those that you feel that are open-minded and those that want to evolve as it relates to their economical status. I love you guys. Y'all be blessed.